Yo. Yo, 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 yo. Welcome back to episode number 5 of the Chronically Right podcast. Today's theme is really just going to be shitting on women. Not women as people, but women as a collective political identity. We love everybody, but it's just getting a little bit silly out there. So that's really going to be the theme, the political woman, and exploring different aspects of that. With me again is a good friend and guest, Mr. Mechanical Player, aka the LeBron James of misogyny. Thank you for joining us today. How are you?
Oh boy, dunking on women, my favorite. You couldn't have picked a better episode, Womp. Thank you so
Dude,
much.
well, it's because you're an incel.
Yes,
Yeah.
I can confirm.
Does your wife know that you're an incel?
No, I just keep pumping her full of kids. She doesn't have time to think about it.
Yo, whoa, man, that's crazy. Good for you, dude. Good for
Of
you.
course.
Yeah. No, if it's so funny because that term used to mean when you didn't have sex with girls, and now it means when you disagree with
Yeah,
girls
it means
about
when you
politics.
disagree with girls as a married man with 2 children.
Yeah, then you're an incel. That's so weird
I'm
because I thought it was
involuntarily celibate.
what is, yeah, that's really odd. That's really weird. Because are you saying that agreeing with you means that you'll have sex with me? Are you a political prostitute?
That's what
What
it
does that
sounds
mean?
like.
And first and foremost, this idea that I, as a man, innately want to have sex with these liberal women who will say you're an incel is very sexist and it's imposing traditional gender norms on me.
I
Ma'am,
know.
I have standards. I would never have sex with you. I wouldn't have sex with you. That's the crazy thing. And second of all, you're reducing yourself down to a series of like holes that I have to say the right thing to get
They're
into.
literally saying their highest value is your ability to have sex with them. That
You
you
could learn a lot about what people value based on how they insult other people. I thought we were equal intellectual interlocutors. Then all of a sudden, I disagree about immigration and you bring your coochie into it.
it's wild.
What type of shit is that? Why are y'all whoring out for Babylon? So bizarre. So bizarre.
Completely.
Anyway, that's really the theme of the episode is how women manifest their womanliness in a political way and how that idea of a woman is used by different factions and ideologies,
Completely.
and how it's just gotten out of hand. I think we've just gotten very far away from reasonable expectations. We've gone down the realm of double standards
We need the
and
church.
bullshit. We need the church, and these bitches are out of control, to be quite honest. And
Yeah,
we'll just talk about it. That's what we'll do. It's just funny.
I know.
Anyway, so here is the phenomenon called the the age the no the age gap, no, the women are get old and get jealous phenomenon. That's what it's
Yeah.
called.
The
This is
fact
a
that she looks
picture.
14 is central to the fantasy, by the way.
She does not look 15 or 14.
No, this is a picture going super viral on Twitter, and it's a woman, a young woman with a baby. I think it's AI, and the fantasy is, what if your wife sends you this from
No, I
when
don't
you're at
think
the
this is AI.
office? Is it maybe it's just a filter? It looks a little cartoony, like it's a dream,
You know how
but
you can tell? I'll tell you how you can tell. The AI can't do fingers.
it looks like that baby got some fingers. That looks fine.
Yeah,
Wedding
it
ring.
has 5 fingers. They would do 6 or like AI literally can't do it. It's so bad
It
at doing
must
it.
it must just be a filter then. But the responses, the larger response is a bunch of women going, you want a woman who's 14, you want a woman who's young. First of all, this girl's like 19 to
22.
21,
Yeah.
22 without makeup. And what it really is, despite all the virtue signaling, is women get old and then they get jealous of prettier women and then they shame dudes for liking younger, prettier women when the majority of the time those women were using their young beauty to attract older, more powerful men when it was convenient. And that's why all the narratives surrounding age gap relationships exist. Of
Hmm.
course, there's a line. You can't be a creep. You can't be a creepy guy, you should not be 45 going after a 19-year-old. But if you're 27 and she's 19 or she's 20, fucking sue me. Like, dude, who cares?
It's just
It's
wild,
so
man.
goofy. It's so far
Dude, even the
removed from
45-year-old
actual.
and the 18, like, listen, it's creepy, but it's not illegal.
Mm,
Like, can we stop with this type of bullshit where it's like he should be put in prison? It's like, no, we have laws and like there's like parameters, and we just like, if you really want my idea of consent, it's marriage. You really can't have consent outside of
bro.
marriage.
It's so funny because people have morals that are convenient, and these women, these older women, they have always a double standard, especially liberal. Liberal older women embody
Mhm.
double standard bullshit more than any other population because all the time their whole shtick is about how people can get together if they're consenting adults, no matter what their preferences are, in any configuration possible. If you want to be a quad poly coven of 5 dudes adopting children from Nigeria, that's perfect. You have my blessing. And if anybody says anything about it, you're a fucking bigot. You're a disgusting bigot. But God forbid men and women want the same thing from each other that they've wanted for all of history, and the way that they actually interact in a loving manner in a
Mhm.
proper relation at all. Oh my goodness, that's a power dynamic. That's an evil power dynamic. Bloweth me.
And
I do
they
not
also want the man
care.
to provide for everything while they go and post on Instagram.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the funniest
Yeah.
thing is we're gonna get
It's
retards in the comments after my marriage comment, and they're gonna say, "Would you support your daughter being married at 12 to a 50-year-old?" It's like, that's why I said marriage, because until you're 18, you're
mm,
under your parents' control,
yeah.
and you can put some safeguards of marriage age. But
I would
marriage then
rather
prevents almost all the issues we run into.
yeah, it's resentful older women paint this narrative that any older man who gets involved with a younger woman is doing so from a place of like predatory control. And it's the same thing when resentful older dudes tell younger men never to get married and never to trust a woman, right?
Mhm.
Or, she's not yours, bro, it's just your turn, or to like go around and cheat, right? And to just be like a philandering douche. It's the same thing. It's the people who have failed or they've been screwed over thinking that that's the whole of the story. It's not.
Yeah.
It's contrived bullshit. It's emotional cope. And there are plenty of dudes who want a younger, more fertile wife whose life is not career oriented, who will give her a
Who has
perfectly
been
good life.
plowed all through college.
Exactly, because it's disgusting and no man likes that. And who cares that you don't like that men don't like that? Like, who gives a shit?
Dude, they're gonna be like,
Whatever.
Mechanical Player's wife is 18. I knew it. No, actually, my
She's
wife's
older than
older than
you.
me. She's
It's
older
like,
than me.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just saying
no.
reality, though.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is, the funny thing, as a man, if you want to have your life together today, it takes a while. And then, to be quite honest, it's a lot harder to have it together and date a woman and provide and have the stability to really have a flourishing relationship in the way that you probably want until you're like 30,
Mm-hmm.
maybe, sometimes older. I know we talked about the stats. We don't have to get into all that right now, but yeah, this whole age gap, resentment and hatred, and this narrative that it's always evil, it's just ridiculous cope. The thing that
It
these
is.
people hate on the left, left, left more than anything is a happy man. They hate it. And a natural happy man getting what he wants in a good, godly, ordered life. They hate stability, they hate strength, they hate marriage, family, and they don't want you to have the thing that you want, which is a young, hot wife sending you pictures with your baby. Fuck that. Do it
Yeah.
anyway.
Stay at
My goodness.
home, cooking meals, loving her life. My wife used to make over 120 grand a year when she was working.
Yeah.
Okay? But as soon as she got pregnant, I said, quit your job. I got you.
Yeah.
And I didn't say,
Hold out.
quit your job. No, I said, if you would like to quit your job, I'm going to provide. I don't care that I'm in law school. I have enough. We will be fine. We don't need all the money in the world. Right?
Yep.
She's never been happier.
Good. And you know what? You waited for the right one. You held out for the right
I
one.
did.
That's what I tell dude, if you're a young guy, you have some time, do not feel like you need to be in a relationship as a flex. If you find a good girl, I'm not saying don't do it. Don't wait
Wife
till
her.
you're
If you
50.
found a great girl,
Wife her.
wife her.
Wife her. But get to the point where you feel comfortable before you do that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and
These
don't
people
date for
will talk
7
about
years.
no, 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 dude, don't.
Oh,
It's so silly. There's nothing else you need to know at that point. Either jump into it together and make the choice, make the decision, and you can figure out the risk reward ratio, but really it's not supposed to be about that at that
yeah.
point. You have to make the decision, but until you're ready to make that decision, build yourself. Don't feel like you need to be in a relationship as a flex. These people will talk about, oh, you're single, you're an incel. It's like, listen, I've had more play than the vast majority of people, and I'm not proud of it,
Grab ass.
but I'm so serious. Yeah. But it's like, of course, like you can do that. Don't worry about being part of that. Don't worry about the gender wars. Don't worry about any of that. Find a good girl. Don't listen to the bullshit. There's a lot of psyop out there. All the traditional shit works. It works very well. Go for that. Find a good one. Don't listen to the games. And
Of
she's going to be
course.
happier when you do as well. That's my take on it. Next post. Let's do the next post.
Hi.
Dude, this
Hi.
is so funny. So,
What would you rate her?
this is Dante's girlfriend. Mechanical has a beef with Dante. I'm just going to air it out a little bit. And I personally have a beef with you through you.
You watched
to
it
Dante.
happen. We talked about it.
Scumbag
Dude,
guy. We'll get into it
He
one day.
said, no, I'm going to go a little, because you brought it up, I'm going to go into it. He said, I don't spend time with my daughter. Do you remember? Don't say when my daughter was born, she wasn't born yet. He said I wasn't making cherished memories. He said I was streaming 12 hours a day when I hadn't streamed over 4 hours in the past 4 months.
So he lied on you and your family.
Yeah, he said I'm a horrible father that doesn't spend time with his family.
Wrong. That's not true.
And then he called me a failed lawyer when you know all the awards I've gotten from my law school. Don't say them. Don't you fucking dox me. And I'm going to be published. Like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. So this shit is funny because this is his girlfriend. This is his situation. This is the woman that he sent basically coerced to go unalive her child. That's been public knowledge.
According to Laura, here's how we're going to say it, okay? According to Laura, she was coercively controlled into getting an abortion of the child that she wanted.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing. And this is another example is this. It's this archetype of an attention grabbing woman where it's like, look at her, ready? So fake eyelashes, fake lips, septum piercing, big glasses, contacts, fake eyebrows, eyebrow piercing, way too many tattoos, cleavage showing, trying to look Asian for some reason. And this is the thing. This is not a reward.
What
like,
tattoo do you think that
proud
says?
to have this kind of woman. It says "Born to Die."
Born to die.
This is not a flex, gentlemen. This is not a flex. This is the archetypal wrong thing. Okay, crazy, materialistic chameleon,
and says she's been diagnosed with anxiety, depression, and psychopathic tendencies. That was the German translation. I want to go further. She said she wanted the kid. She also published the information before Tarzan did. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And here's the kicker. Okay? Then after all said and done, she gets a tattoo that says "Born to Die," and she makes a tweet saying how she likes it raw. The only thing that was born to die was the child that never got to breathe air. Laura.
Yeah.
That was, you were not born to die. Your child that you killed before it was born into death.
This is the woman you want to avoid. Avoid at all costs. Be out. Materialism, insanity, unaliving the kids.
Dante's is worse.
And then way too much makeup. He's actually worse.
She's actually the victim in a way. In a way, she's still fucking crazy. But
I'm glad we plugged that. Let's keep going. We'll have a whole episode to unpack that at some point. There you go. Yeah.
That's what she looks like without makeup. Actually, there's still some lip stuff bullshit on.
If your girl needs that much makeup, not a great sign. You know why? It's a sign of pride, and it's a sign of it's like
Narcissism.
if a guy it's like if a guy goes to the gym and thinks that's what makes him a man. That's kind of what this is. Avoid the tattoos, avoid too much makeup. Septum piercing is a huge no. Don't do it.
She's a walking
Okay?
manga panel.
Yes, just avoid it. Avoid it altogether. Okay? Because then you end up having to then you end up convincing her to off her kid because she's insane, and that's what you
Mhm.
got yourself into.
And she wanted the
Um,
kid.
I know.
Imagine, would you ever
It's
do that to a
tragedy.
woman? This is, I
Bro, it's
really want
tragedy.
this kid.
But it's so funny that he'll critique you as a father when you have 2 children. Lord knows what you've done for your daughter so far, and we don't have to
Everything
talk about
under
that.
the sun.
People have no idea. I know, but people have no idea. While you're in law school and trying to work at the same time, and then this guy has the audacity, this boy has the audacity to come at you talking about that shit
It's
when he
unbelievable.
convinced his woman to off the kid even though he has way more than enough
Oh,
money, and
don't even go there.
she's an insane degenerate.
She
Like,
actually said,
a flex.
according to Laura, and this is all alleged, by the way, and we'll pull the clips when we do our breakdown of this. She said for financial reasons as well, she had to get rid of the kid. And then don't worry, 3 weeks later, when she's actually talking about Dante's, you all say this game that he plays, this game. Okay, because she has a shitty German accent trying to speak English.
Mm,
Um, guess what? She'll then tell you he makes more than 6
400.
to 10 times of what an average person makes, which
Yeah.
is 3 to 500 grand a year. That
Yeah.
Dante's
Yeah.
makes him a year.
Yeah. Gentlemen, if you get a girl pregnant that you're with and you make $600,000 a year and
300,000.
she wants the kid, but you convince her that she doesn't get to keep the kid, especially if she has mental problems, clearly, you're a scumbag.
Yup.
This is the spectrum of relationships. This is why it's not a flex to be in a relationship. You should wait for the right one. You want what Mechanical has. You do not want this situation. Okay, let's hop to the next one. We'll go over that a
He's
different
such a
time.
coward.
But that's the whole relationship thing.
What a loser.
I like this tweet. I like this tweet. God forgave prostitutes, but when it came time to decide for a mother for his son, he picked a virgin. Be like God. I love it. I love it. It makes me
The
happy.
rhetoric.
Don't marry a whore. Don't.
Yep.
Don't do it. There's very rare circumstances. That should be your default, though. I don't know why
Very
that's
rare.
controversial. I don't know why that's controversial. I said it in a previous episode, TikTok. I said marrying a woman who used to be a whore is like hiring a reformed pedophile as a babysitter. That's what it is. It's like you're not cut out for this job, and your history makes you very bad for this position. And I'm not saying that people can't repent and then enter back in to some form of innocence, but forgiveness is about willing the good for somebody. That is not necessarily like forgetting their past, forgetting their actions, forgetting the damage of sin. Okay? And
Mhm.
as a man, if you have been engaging in these things, okay, it's a little bit different. I think the morality of it, the dynamics of it are different. Men and women are different. I don't know why that's crazy to say, but you need to stop if that's what you're doing, and you need to enter in to abstinence because you're not better if you're engaging in it. Okay?
Mhm.
You can't have it both ways.
Yeah,
You cannot double dip. All right? Okay?
you have to be
You're not going to get
consistent.
the woman you deserve. Yes, you have to be morally
Don't
consistent.
treat women like sexual objects for your gratification.
Exactly, exactly. And that's the thing. Like as a man, right? As a man, your merit, your value, it has to do more with bravery. It has to do with going out and getting a life together. As a woman, it has to do more with not allowing your value to be pillaged, right? As you grow up and as you get older,
How
and
you act
having
in stressful situations as a man.
yes, and for a man, it's more it's positive. It's bringing down the ideal life into reality. As a woman, it's holding on to your value and then filling that space
Making a
with
home.
your life. Yes, yeah, a man's a head, a woman's a heart. All that still
Oh, yeah.
reigns true, and I think purity holds more. There's a reason purity was the archetypal female virtue for a long time. However, if you're a man and you're looking for this godly woman, I see all these Protestant dudes talking about I need a Proverbs 6 woman or where I forget exactly what it is. and you're out there thinking that you can go ahead and have that while still having slam pieces on the side for funsy onesie. No, you can't serve two masters. You have to be morally consistent or you're a hypocrite. Okay? I'm not saying that it's the same. If you have had a bad past, that's not great either. Okay? But you should at least try to enter out of that. Same thing with women. And unfortunately, even though it's not the same, it seems like a lot of the women who talk about being repentant, talk about going to church. I'm not saying it's not ever true, but in a lot of cases, it's bullshit. And it's just a thing that they make
I
part of their
know.
personality to just be like, well, you can't be mad at me anymore. Don't judge me. This is whatever. And then, even if they're not religious, what a lot of girls do is they take on this selective, this retroactive accountability where there's actually this mystical, spiritual, esoteric, universe related reason why, due to their problems with their father, their emotionality, some Freudian psychoanalysis, and 52 contingent reasons and circumstances they had no control over. It was not their fault that they sucked 52 dicks before they met you. And do not listen to those women either. So you have to discern, my boys. You have to discern.
My
And
brother.
it takes a while. And sometimes it's hard because, most women, even if they're hoes, they can be good people to be around. They can have good personalities. Most people aren't bad. And you intertwine with people, you have to be careful. And that's why when you start engaging sexually, you get interwoven and your spirit becomes connected and you can't see clearly anymore. That's why love blinds you. Okay?
Completely.
And that's why you need to maintain your distance and maintain your space so you can make a clear-headed decision on it. Otherwise, you're just heading into calamity.
Yeah.
That's my piece
No,
on that.
it's just disaster. I mean, that's the whole thing of the Proverbs of Solomon, right? Like, wisdom extends out her hand until the calamity comes. Then you reach out for wisdom, and she says, funny that you should come knocking here.
Oh, yeah, you got to know that first. And it's so funny because wisdom's feminine in that sense,
Oh,
where
of
it's like
course.
the consequence of the world, the way the world actually
The
works,
natural
and like
disaster.
the way it works with women too. Yeah, natural disaster, but like the way it works with women, the way that you interact with women, they react to it. The way that you interact with women, if you're proactive and you have an active relationship with wisdom,
Hmm.
it pays out in spades. And women, the same thing. If you have a proactive relationship with the feminine, it pays out in spades. But if you are reactive to it, you just get punished and punished and
Just,
punished. It's so you just get slammed,
I
dude.
know. Over and over
Yeah,
again.
marriage, and this is another form of grifting, this is another political woman thing. Marriage and forgiveness are not the same thing, and a lot of people will use the religious element to try to convince you that you have no right to reject a woman because of her past. Do not listen to these people. Okay, it is a
Horrible
grift.
advice.
It is a horrible. You should discriminate and discern. And I'm not saying you can condemn that person or have hatred towards them, but you can judge their character based on their fruits and then say no, and that's not hateful. Okay? You have every right. That's well within your right to do that. So I think that sums it up.
Hmm.
Let's head to the next one here.
Yeah, and listen, I might pull up the study, but just as a leaving point before we get into the three stooges, the three doppelgangers, um, women's past amount of partners is directly predictive. I don't know the R value on it, but we'll bring up the study sometime of
Like
their
one.
likelihood to cheat.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yep.
obviously that's important.
And hey,
Obviously.
it can be a chicken or an egg thing, right? Sometimes people have underlying problems that manifest in two aspects of their life, right? So maybe it's the
Mhm.
case that women with problems sleep around more and then they're more likely to cheat. Maybe it's the sleeping around that makes women like that more likely to cheat. Do you want to gamble and find out? Probably not. And when it comes down to it, at a certain point, it's gross, and you're allowed to not like behavior that's vice, like bad behavior. It's impure and immodest and immoral. And as a man, it is perfectly understandable that a woman will reject you for spending the first 25 years of your life not going to the gym, not building your life, not accumulating wealth, have no interesting friends, no decent career. You're a loser. You can't talk to people. You don't have skills developed. You cannot go up to a woman and say, "Hey, forgive me." If you don't accept me, you don't forgive me. You're judging me for my past. Okay,
Absolutely.
I guess you're judging me for my past. They don't hate you. They just don't have to sleep with you or marry you. And same thing with them.
I actually found a Reddit post and it actually cites pretty well. I haven't checked the sources,
Yeah.
but just assume for now, we'll assume that it's in good faith. It says promiscuity in fact is a good predictor of infidelity. Among females, it's 0.45 R value for an R2 value. As for males, an R2 value of 0.25. So even for men, if you're sleeping around a lot, that kind of predicts that you're going to be a bit of a cheater.
Yep.
Again, I don't know what the p-value was of this study. I can't verify if it's actually a properly done study. But here's the next one. Number of sex partners. Greater number of sex partners before marriage predicts infidelity. A greater willingness to have casual sex and to engage in sex without closeness, commitment, or love are also reliably related to infidelity. And then the final one. Men assess women based on prior to a long-term commitment. Who would have thought men are looking to see how you behaved before taking you on for the rest of your life? Women do the same thing, by the way.
Did anybody get murdered in this house? Did anybody get thrown out a window? How many people have been kicked out of this bar?
Did 4 men die of poisoning that dated you?
Yeah. How many kids have been in this car before? You tell me right now. All right. Why do you have a child seat in the passenger? All right. Let's hop to the next thing here. Let's keep the momentum. This is Pokimane, who, from my understanding, is famous for being hot and making faces that look like she's in the midst of sexual intercourse on the internet. I think she's a streamer, and the reason people watch her stream is because of how much they fantasize about having sex with her, and really not that much to do with how interesting she is. And this has become an archetype. Women are good at marketing themselves sexually online, and it bothers me because I'm more interesting. What is that?
That's actually Pokimane.
Is that her?
Yeah, this is us critiquing it. We don't endorse this. She's also part Moroccan.
You ain't funny. Nigga, you
Look how she claps. She's already apologized. She's deeply sorry for this.
No, she's Moroccan. That's based. What do you mean?
I know, but she apologized because she's quote unquote white passing.
Funny.
Well,
that's not true. Maybe you're just boring as fuck and lame as hell. Nigga.
Okay, sorry about that. Let's get back to the clip.
Be honest about the fact that nobody would care who this woman is if she was not just an object. Can we be honest about that?
she objectifies herself, by the way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because everybody knows. It's just like we don't say it for some reason. It's like this woman is not interesting on her own. And you know what I've realized? I start to get excited whenever like a girl will comment or something, or I'll see a girl's profile where it's like the whole point of the profile is just how hot she is, and I have more followers. I'm like, oh, I'm more interesting than she is pretty. It's just a nice ego boost for me. You know, this is not because she's not even that pretty. And she has like millions of followers. I don't know, dude. It's just like it's the grifting. Bro, you know what this is? This is gooner culture to its maximum degree. Okay? They're just they just go on, they do nothing. They go online, they provide no value, no insight. They say nothing of importance. You remember that trend? Do you remember that fucking trend?
Yes. Of the orgasm on TikTok.
They go, ooh, ooh, that was the whole thing, was to get on camera and gyrate and climax pantomime sexual intercourse on an app made for children, jiggling around. Like,
Pokimane never did that, though, to her credit.
No,
she
not
didn't have to, though.
No,
she's already famous.
No. Her whole thing was just how hot she is, isn't it? Or are we just like shitting on somebody for no reason?
Listen. Obviously, there's some stuff that she says she doesn't do, like she doesn't allow bananas on stream anymore because she would quote unquote be sexualized for it. Like, that's kind of funny. But
what do you mean? If nobody sexualized you, nobody would know who you are. If you weren't getting sexualized, there would be no
Sneeko rightly shows clips of her obviously doing sexually sounding clips for her 13-year-old audience. And that way she can publish it on YouTube as made for kids, basically, of like allowing the kid audience in.
You know what the problem? You know what this is? This is the prostitution class. You know, a historical class of people who have found a way to mass produce their influence. And the people who are most susceptible to this are. We need to protect young men in this
I know.
society more from these kinds of influences. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. The unapologetic, just straight gooner bullshit that will be whimsically shoved into the minds and lives of like 13-year-old boys. And that's another thing is if you criticize it, now you're a bad guy. Fuck you. This shit should be banned. Like corn should be banned, OF should be banned,
Hmm.
and there should be severe age restrictions when it comes to young men watching this
And by the way,
content.
that's the most pro-woman thing you could literally do, by the way.
Yeah.
Because what do men do? Okay, they're like, but it's women's sexual freedom. Let me explain something. You may call it sexual freedom in your stupid, subverted mind of what it is, but what it actually is men objectifying you, ruining like all relationships. Because
Yeah.
men then are gonna treat you like a sexual object, like the whole cascade of like, you know, the frog in a boiling water thing, even though that analogy is not even true in real life. But that idea of that things keep
Yeah.
getting escalated and escalated and escalated.
Yeah.
Dude, because of all the pornography, men have such a subverted idea of what a woman is and what they should be getting from a woman.
Bro, it destroys a young man to get
And they
into
become weak and
gaming
stupid.
content. Yeah, it destroys your masculinity, but it destroys your understanding of women, and
Mhm.
people profit off it. The age restrictions on these websites are bullshit.
Yeah.
It's not real, and it's everywhere. I remember looking at Snapchat articles at 14, and it
Yeah.
was all weird sexual bullshit,
Yeah.
and parents have no idea. And these
Mhm.
women, they profit off of being kind of gatekeepers to that, and they know that they're garnering attention from young men and then old lonely married dudes and helping to destroy marriage. Of course, it's the fault of the men who do that. Your fault if you do that as a man.
Mhm.
But there's people dealing this shit too. And again, it's the whore of Babylon, right? That's what we're dealing with here.
I mean, literally,
Um,
on her, I saw this clip. I've never actually watched the podcast. She has a podcast, Sweet and Sour, with Lily Pichu. They're both league players. That's how I know. They former league players. Um, they're literally both talking. Well, Pokemon was talking about how when she travels the world, she's just on Tinder, like buying guys food and having them smash her. What that? This
yeah.
is our bait. This is how wonderful of a role model.
Which one is she?
I
I don't
know,
even
I
care. I
know,
don't
I
care.
know,
I don't care.
I know.
I
I
don't care.
figured it out because the picture's been here so long. But if you just showed me this picture, I would have said the one on the right. But then after thinking about it, I'm like, no, she's actually older and less attractive. It's the middle one.
I'm glad that this isn't egregious because here's how interesting these streams are when there's no overt
Okay,
sexuality.
you
Ready?
ready
Go
to
ahead.
see it? This is your prime time television.
Your mind has to be so rotted to watch this.
It's so
So
paras.
rotted.
Do you know what they do? I figured it out. I just got it. It's because all they build is like that ASMR bullshit, that parasocial relationship. My online girlfriend just saw a spider. I wish I could get it for. You're such a pathetic loser if you watch this. If you're a
No,
man and you're
genuinely.
watching, if you're wasting your time, get to work, build something. Do something, even if it's just streaming video games.
You know what the
Don't
problem
watch
is?
this.
You know what the problem? I'm gonna say this now. I want people to listen to this. I think this is actually super, super important.
I'm gonna up your
Red
volume.
pill, red pill is a psyop to get you to reject the true parts of it in a lot of ways. So, okay, think about the term conspiracy theory. This is just an analogy for what I'm trying to point at. The term conspiracy theory contains the idea that interdimensional galactic pedophile lizard people have infiltrated the government from another plane of reality. Okay, that's a conspiracy theory. Some people believe that. Not a lot, but within that category, conspiracy theory is also the idea that the CIA offed JFK. Now, I'm going to be honest. Yeah, they probably did. Do interdimensional pedophile lizards run the government? Fucking no. Okay? So, in the category of
How dare you?
conspiracy theory, there's a bunch of bullshit in there, And then people go, oh, that's a conspiracy theory, and they reject all the truth. What happened with Red Pill is there was initially a lot of truth under Red Pill. And then what people in our culture, probably intentionally or otherwise, started to do was emphasize the toxic bullshit elements where it's
Mhm.
like, oh, you should never have any feelings. You should never marry a woman. You should just hate everybody. You should be resentful. All these kind of the worst aspects of it were pulled out, and then people said that's all that it is. And so now when you say things that are aligned with that, even the true parts of it, people go, that's red pill, and you reject it, just like conspiracy. That is how
Mhm.
you destroy and defame things that you don't like, is you associate them with much worse versions of those ideas. And then that's really like basically casting a spell on the ideology. But the point of it is, the truth there is you should work. You should not be a gooner online. You
Of
should get
course.
your life together. And as a man, you are responsible for your existence. Don't get into this goonery bullshit. Be better than it. Be better than modern times. Be better than the degeneracy. Seek something good and pure. And good luck. That's what the actual answer
I
is.
know,
What else
and then
can
they'll
you
always say, because we critique that this is like the most bland content imaginable, more boring than when I first started streaming. What I did for my brief streams of just playing a dog shit video game, okay?
do? Yeah.
Then they'll say it's just because you hate women. It's like, no, I don't hate women. I think women can do great content and it can be really funny. This is not that.
No, no. And there's the funny thing is, here's what happens, right? Here's actually what it is on the other side. So take the conspiracy analogy, right? That's a category that they've placed an artificial border around
Mm,
and then included things that they all want gone, right? I think conspiracy theory as a term is actually a conspiracy theory.
yeah.
When it comes to women, they've taken all of the ridiculous, retarded feminist shit and they've put it in the box with just women in general, right? And
Mm.
so now if you reject the BS, then they say you reject the whole category.
It's
If
like
you
not at
reject
all.
the idea, if
Women
you
are worth
reject
more than rubies. In
yeah,
some,
if you reject gender equality
yeah.
and like abortion laws and like I don't know, complete no fault nonsense divorce, like you're not penalized for faulting at all in the
Oh my
marriage
god.
policies,
I
like you
could talk
hate
so much on that.
shut the fuck up. You know what? That's the equivalent of saying, oh, you don't think interdimensional pedophiles run the government? You must think nobody killed JFK. It must have just been the one shooter. What happened to the grassy knoll, dude? It's so dumb. Take the issues at hand, separate, okay? Women are not the modern political concept woman.
It's just because JFK is Catholic. That's why you say, that's why you bought into that conspiracy theory.
There's a relationship there. There is a relationship
So
there.
funny.
The same people set up both those boxes. There's some overlap.
Oh my god. Yeah, it's the
Oh,
CIA, of course. Um,
all right.
yeah, that's Pokimane. Lovely, very attractive woman. Had to put that in there. And remember, that was us, YouTube. We're not condoning that language. We
No.
are giving a insightful critique to.
Nigga, you ain't funny.
Thank you, Pokey. And now we have the best NRA commercial. This is some good woman stuff. Who would have thought the OF girl did something good?
So Amaranth, is it
Amaranth.
Amaranth?
Yeah.
Amaranth is an OF creator who recently got out of a very tight situation. There were dudes who were breaking into her home. I'm sure that they learned of her existence because of her OF presence, and so they had that weird. Again, that's the risk with it, that parasocial relationship. It's so funny how it's coming back around, right?
I
Like this
know.
could happen to anybody online.
We
And
can't
that's
show
what
the
happens
video.
that's what happens when you put yourself out there. Just as a warning, this is not victim blaming in any circumstance. It's just a reality. If you post your kids on Facebook and their locations and their routine, you're setting them up for somebody to know where they are. Okay. And if you have an online presence where you're very exposed, people develop relationships and ideas about you in their head. So she had a bunch of dudes break into her home. They tried to rob her. They had duct tape. They were chasing her down. They were trying to take her stuff. They beat her a little bit before. She managed to get her hands on a firearm. She shot one of the
Or
dudes.
was the husband? The story kind of changes a bit, but it was one of them.
Okay. Well, she shot one of the dudes, I know. And then
Mhm.
as they're running out, you hear, I got shot, bro. And that's the funny thing. I love seeing people get their comeuppance in real time. Like criminals are cowards. Okay,
Mhm.
gangbangers are cowards. Dudes who do that shit and prey on weak people are cowards. They're pussies. And that's why the wicked flee when none pursueth.
Yeah.
That guy had a gun. It was 3v1. The second one of them gets clipped, right? They start running out the house. And it's a 120-pound lady. She got one shot off like through the door or something. But the beauty of it is that's the great equalizer. That's what like if my wife, my kids, I want arms. I want them to know how to use them. I want my wife to know how to use them because that's the only thing that kept this lady from being brutally beaten, assaulted, and maybe killed was the fact that she had a firearm. That's the great equalizer. Good job, Amaranth. Now stop being a whore, but good job. You know?
Dude, the funniest thing as well is like so many people will be like, well, we can't have guns because of XYZ schools and all this. It's like, I just want the teachers to have guns, man. Like, I just want more people to be afraid because the people that do these crimes are desperate, craven losers
Yeah.
with nothing going in life. They
Yeah.
are so easily mowed down. These are not military trained people. These are not
No.
hardcore people that have killed many people, that have seen the pink mist from shooting someone in the head. They have nothing. They are nothing. And they're
Well,
losers.
it's so funny, dude. You know what this is a good microcosm of when it comes to these supposedly empathetic liberal policies, like letting trans men in the women's bathroom or trans women in the men's bathroom, whatever. You know what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
Opening the border, allowing tons of immigration, getting rid of gun laws, all these things that are supposedly equalizing and good and empathetic, they hurt women more than anybody else.
They literally do.
Feminism hurts women more than anybody else. Okay. All the parts of it that are good are gone. They're a long time gone. They've been gone.
Mhm.
Yeah, you should be able to drive, get a credit card, and you shouldn't, your husband shouldn't own you. Okay, I agree with all
Yeah,
of
and
that.
that's coercive control, by the way, he's mentioning. He's saying trying to
Yeah.
put laws about that.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. But when it comes to the modern fourth wave, the desire to equalize everything, the idea that we need two people out of the house working all the time, it makes it harder for women to have children. Promiscuity is damaging to women. They are caught up. Abortion is damaging to women mentally. All these things are actually
A lot
hurting
of them.
women. Okay? The
Mhm.
the majority of people who are a victim of gun violence, it's not women, it's men. It's young inner city men. Okay, but the people who suffer when you aren't allowed to have firearms would be people like this woman here, okay? And it's so really disgusting because like in today's day and age, if you love women for what they are, not the political category, people say that you actually hate women when you're trying to love them properly because they're different. They deserve respect and they need to be kind of it's not a question of if we're going to influence women's political agendas and ideas with our education and our politics and our media. It's a question of if we're going to influence it in the right way. And there's been very divisive forces recently that have turned women against men and turned women against their own best interests too, and then inflamed those ideologies to really make it just a crock pot of emotion and disagreement. And it's genuinely disgusting. And
Completely.
if you're going to be a good guy, you have to parse through it, find a woman who's not infected with that shit,
Have
but you have to
discernment.
hold the line in the public square, okay? Women are not the political entity woman, okay?
Mhm.
Separate the two.
The
That
individual
is a
woman and the
divisive
idea
bullshit.
of the political idea of woman completely. And that's going to go over some people's heads, and they're just going to be like, you hate women. It's like, we're talking about two different things. We're talking about the feminine mystique versus the feminine critique. And women, the individual, is completely separate from those two ideas, right?
And what women are by nature as a creation of God is not the modern conception of a woman as a ward of the state and a political identity.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same thing, okay? Women want a good, strong, masculine connection in their life. It's obvious. It's blatantly
Mm-hmm.
obvious. They're not designed to unalive their children. They're not designed for promiscuity. Most of them really aren't designed for a ton of work either. The problem is, though, women, they have a fragileness to their nature where they feel like they need to adapt, and they're good at the adapting,
They're
right? But
really
then
good at
wherever
adapting to their situation.
but the pride in that adaptation, wherever they end up, they rationalize. And if you get women to unalive their children, if you get women to do X, Y, and Z and
They'll
buy
start
into
calling
these
it good.
ideas, they'll start calling it good, and then it'll kill them. It'll hurt them to hear otherwise. And then if you
Mm.
make that public opinion, you flip all of society on its head, okay? Because women do enforce the social taboos. Men don't give a shit. You can say whatever you want around men. That's why if you get women to believe a revolution, the young women, that's how you know it's going to work, because they enforce those taboos. And that's what's happened. Again, women have been used as a political tool to their own detriment and to men's detriment. And I don't think it's going well. So,
Yeah,
but
I
good
mean,
job, Amaranth.
there was
Just
a here's a
stop showing
small
your
little
boobs.
story. I won't go too far into it, but there was a girl in my law class a couple
Yeah.
semesters ago, and I'm not gonna use her last name, but I'm gonna use a last name that's like similar, like that would be in the same category. Finkelstein, I'll say is the last name.
Yeah. Dingleberg.
Yeah, Dinkelberg. Um, and she was just openly and proudly saying how she has her boyfriend a certain amount of miles away, like it was like long distance or something, and she was cucking him, like literally of like, well, because you can't meet my needs because or of X, Y, and Z, I'm just gonna be sleeping with a bunch of other people while I'm over here before they like move back together while she's in law school over here. Like that to me is walking disease and pestilence. That is like a pestilence to me. And I'm not saying it has nothing to do with the ethnic category at all. I'm literally just saying that idea of because you can't do this, I'm pretty sure she's the one like in law school, X, Y, and Z, like the one that had to go to law school and everything. And then you're going to say, oh yeah, but now that I'm here, that is so subverted and disgusting. And it should be outlawed. I don't care about this whole, but both people consent to it. That's horrible and anathema.
Men are, yes, men are like a jar, and women are like the water that you put in the jar. And then when the water gets to determine the shape of the jar, it's usually just a big fucking puddle,
Yeah.
right? So that's
Swept
the
away in the
problem.
ocean.
Well, and there's some deeper gender dynamics that I think happen, if we're going to talk about actual gender theory, like the real deep down masculine and feminine forces in the world, those deeper spiritual patterns. Men have not, because of a bunch of different factors, right? But also the moral failings of men in general. They've relinquished the structure of society, like religion was part of it, the family was a part of it. And so women crave that structure, and where they find it is the state and in public opinion. And that is how you spiral into totalitarian bullshit, right? And that's why the political divide between men and women in the past, I don't know, 25 years has gone from this to this, because women are desperate for structure. And so they go, okay, if I go to this protest, if I hold these opinions, I'm trusting in this authority to help me figure out how to make my life work. And that's why they get so fucking panicky with it when it comes to their opinions. Back in the day, you would have a microcosm of the state being dad in the household. And so a woman would feel more comfortable in that smaller context, and she wouldn't look to the larger context.
Yeah.
And that's why I think the same thing with religion, right? I mean, it's been a rejection.
We protected women from the
one.
public square. I mean, they'll only tell you one side of the history of like coverture. They'll say, oh, well, women didn't even have their own identity. It was actually that one, it secured that it was actually a marriage that your family couldn't come after you and keep trying to manipulate you. But also the other thing, they never talk about this. I've never heard this in a law school class unless I bring it up. Of the other thing they don't tell you about the law is you couldn't sue a woman.
Yeah.
You
really?
can't sue them. You couldn't sue them. You can't sue them.
That's so interesting. So it was not just
it's dual. Yes, there was things putting women down. Obviously,
that's what I knew. But no, but that's what I always knew with it, and like kind of just understanding. It's like it was a fundamentally different conception of the sexes.
It protected them from the public square as well as not including them. It was both. It wasn't just you get all the good stuff is taken away from you, but all the bad stuff is still upheavaled on you. It wasn't that.
And the funny thing is, it actually, what it would do is it would provide women in that system with a context where you have a husband, you have a life kind of set out for you, you have a defined role, you get protection, you don't have to go work, you don't have to go fend for yourself in most circumstances. And like you said, you can't get sued. And there's so many women today who like kind of not they're not supposed to, but they have that nostalgic yearning for that because today you need both parents to be a dad and a mom together, and a lot of
Mhm.
women don't want to do that. They want the more traditional role. Of course there is bad things that come with it, but to again reject the whole role itself and to associate all of the aspects of a chivalrous society with like this evil oppressive regime is just again it's poisoning the well.
And
There's these boxes of ideas and they just put one idea and say it's
it's
all
such a
evil.
narrative. Because
It's a goofy
even
narrative.
think of it like this, right? So slavery in the Catholic Church has been anathema for, I think, 600 years. It was
Yeah.
really declared in 1720, where it's guaranteed horrible, we're now abolitionists, okay? This is
Yeah.
way predating American slavery, the majority of it, okay? That would
Yeah.
happen of the transatlantic slave trade. So Catholics, by doctrine and decree of the church, could not be pro slavery, okay?
Yeah.
By 1725, I believe. I forget which pope decreed it. But then, even if you're an Irish Catholic descent in America, even if you're a Catholic descent in America, they will look at you because you're white and they will say, you loved putting them slaves in chains. It's going to be the
Yeah.
same thing with abortion if it ever does end up being treated like slavery was, where they're going to
Hmm.
say, well, your ancestors were pro abortion. It's like, I'm completely against abortion except in the obvious cases that the Catholic Church allows.
Yeah, let me be the first to say for posterity's sake, my great grandchildren had a grandfather who had nothing to do with abortion. I was an abolitionist from the get-go. You are hereby absolved from any future social consequences, okay?
It's
And
so
again,
funny.
it's the same analogy, but I remembered one thing I wanted to say.
Yeah, go for it.
The thing is when we're talking about kind of the role of the state when it comes to filling that masculine void for a lot of women. As a man, you notice that when you get with a girl, and you notice this specifically in relationship trends like over long periods of time, women become more conservative when they're with a man because they become more trusting of
Hmm.
autonomy and they become more trusting of authority, and then they go, okay, I don't need the state to dictate that all for me. And as a matter of fact, you know, I don't really want all of my money and all of my attention and every aspect of my life be dominated by this force. I want my kids to be able to do what they want. You know, we need guns to fend against the buffalo or whatever. And I don't want a bunch of immigrants coming across the border. Women become more when they become part of those family units, they take on the values that are more spirited and individual
Yeah.
because conservatism is more masculine in that it's really, I mean, the breadth of it, not the neocon bullshit, not the corporate bullshit, not the globalist bullshit. The breadth of conservatism is really classical liberalism. It's just keep
Hmm.
these things away from me. Obviously, there's like the kind of Burkean like traditional aspect where it's like, hey, let's maintain our cultural and ideological continuity, and then obviously like stick with our
Yeah,
roots,
and I wouldn't
right?
even
Don't,
per se say we're conservatives of like that broad definition. I'd say we inch. I think we have some of them. I think we have some of the conservative values, but we definitely don't fit into the left-right paradigm
no,
of
because
our schema.
there's the left right paradigm assumes another window where you're looking at it from over and above, and it's
Yeah.
like I don't left and right don't even agree on what constitutes politics,
Mhm.
right? Like the right thinks church should be a factor in politics and the left does not. There's
Some of
different
the right
worldviews.
does.
Some of the right, well, the right, some of the right, sure. But there's different views here, and there's totalizing ideologies where you'll be in the left right, but it doesn't mean you're associated with all of the other ideas necessarily. And I think there is more diversity on the right than there is on the left, really, when it comes to the ideas. And it's so funny to watch people who have been like reared with the most NPC, regular, everyday worldview, this kind of leftist, normie, everything subjective. We need to care about social welfare, equality, intersectionality, bullshit opinion all of the time. It's always predictable. Sit there and say that all conservatives think one thing when conservatives can disagree on the role of public education. They can disagree on the role of the state in general. They can disagree about, I don't know, the environment, or whether we should be globalist, whether we should be nationalist. There's a constellation of ideas there.
Yep.
And I have a bit of I don't know if I have a name for exactly what I believe. I don't know if I fit into exactly all of it, or any one particular thing. It's a bit of paleo, it's a bit of conservative, it's a bit of the traditionalist, and it's a bit of, like, I don't know, like fourth position, whatever, fourth
Catholic.
or third position, transcendent. Yeah. That's the unifying totalizing ideology, is the Catholic part of it. But anyway, let's move to the next thing, because we've gone on a big tangent. But I hope people like listening to us. Go off on these ideas.
Rachel Wilson doppelganger.
So fucking funny. So for everybody who doesn't know, Andrew Wilson's the guy who he goes on those podcasts and he roasts on the whatever podcast. He roasts women for being whores. His wife had two baby daddies, and 3 children before he met him. And we saw this video and we were like, oh my goodness, this is exactly to a T Andrew Wilson. Posted by Richard Cooper. Funny. That's, again, 2 guys on the right, but very different ideas. Let's let it play.
Look at her. Like super mid, like low quality.
It's so arrogant too, because they know
Tattoos.
It's very shameful for a man to have a wife that has 4 baby daddies, right? And the reason people say nobody's ever going to take you is really because most men won't. And then she finds one dude. Now she's dancing around in the kitchen. He was nice enough to make her. It's like, why can you not have any humility to just be like, I should just be thankful for this and not rejoice in it like I deserve it?
Why so pompous and arrogant?
It's so gross, dude. It's so gross. Yeah, so the joke here is that this is exactly what Andrew Wilson did. And it bothers me, not because you should never, look, if you want to be one of those guys, I wouldn't. If you want to be one of those guys who you go out and you find a woman who has
the
3
broken
kids,
winged bird.
Yeah, and you want to take her under your wing, and you think it's worth dealing with that because it's your only option and you don't have better prospects, which is what happened. And that's fine, but then you don't get to be like conservative flexing on everybody guy. Shut up.
I know.
That's my point. Like, you can't have no grace too, right? These two, and same thing with Rachel, they'll be sitting here dunking on whores, talking about you're not repentant, you're a bad person, you're this. It's so gross when these two just walked through that gate. You are gatekeeping the fucking fence you just went through, okay? If you've been high and mighty moral all your life, you're not being a hypocrite if you just hold people to that standard. But you can't be Joe Schmo conservative guy when your wife is a hoe. You rescued her from the streets and took her children in.
Hey, what is she supposed to do?
She did exactly what she was supposed to do. Trick some guy with money into taking her under his wing. Talking about bro.
We're talking about Andrew here. What did you do? Right? I hate when he says that.
What was she supposed to do?
You know what you were supposed to do? You were supposed to pay for the babysitter the first date so that you could take her out while somebody else watched somebody else's kids for you, so you could talk to her, cuck. I don't like it. I think it's goofy.
Yeah, it's just like, if you're going to talk about masculinity, there's a difference between Catholicism and masculinity, right? You should be masculine as a Catholic, but let's really break this down, because Andrew Wilson gets under my nerves too. You're going to act like everyone's beneath you, which he does. He's like, oh, I'm going to talk down to you. I'm going to say that you're an idiot. Well, aren't you an idiot for being with someone with 3 baby daddies when you should have just gotten someone who knows maybe you aren't raising other people's kids? And I'll go further. I didn't really want to get into this point. Why is your wife posting that your daughter's coming of age, allegedly, and that you're trying to find a suitor for her online?
It's so weird. It's this weird, like, peeping Tom voyeuristic thing to do that. And it's very odd because it's like you're co-opting the superficial parts of conservatism, of Christianity. These people are grifters, bro. They're
Such
actual grifters. It bothers me.
And of course it's Orthodox, by the way. And don't worry, we'll have 50 Orthodox people saying how Vatican I, Vatican II, go fuck yourself. It's like, Okay.
I don't have a beef with Orthodox like that. I like a lot of Orthodox theology.
Dude, they lie constantly about my religion.
I like a lot of Orthodox people. Like I like Jonathan Peugeot a lot. I look up to that guy like as a content creator and also just as a dude. He's super Orthodox and he makes it
Mhm.
make a lot of sense, and I have respect for that. But yeah, there's those people who just sit on the edge of their ideology. They don't actually live it out that much,
No,
and they use it as just a bludgeon to just make people feel awful. Like the idea to look somebody in the face and be like, "You're not really repentant," is crazy. Like you don't
yeah.
know that. You don't know that, and it should be a loving, graceful thing, and a corrective thing, but not this just like wrathful, like high and mighty condescension. And that's what bothers me. It's like you want to talk about other people's lives like that with no
Mhm.
forgiveness, no grace. Okay, your wife is a hoe.
Yep.
You accepted children that were not
I gotta
yours.
crash out. I gotta crash out. Let me
She showed
crash
up with
out.
3 car seats in the back the first
Let me-
date, and you said yes, Mr. Masculinity. Give me a break.
Let me crash out. Okay, here I'm going to specifically go into the Orthodox thing. I think Orthodoxy is not bad at all, and I think there's a lot of holiness in it. The Catholic, by the way, you all make fun of Vatican II. It actually affirms that someone who's Orthodox or someone that's Protestant, if they live their conscience X, Y, Z, they can still go to heaven. We actually are more accepting. But here's the thing that really bothers me. They'll claim that Greek is the original language of Christ. And that really bothers me because they completely write over and colonize the Maronite church, the Syriac church, even Syriac Orthodox they ignore.
Look, man,
Aramaic was the original language, just like the Greeks did with the goddamn alphabet. They lie about the origin. Phoenicians made the alphabet, and then they say it's theirs. It just
Look.
like baklava. I can keep going. It's everything. They just steal it. They steal, and then they look you and like, we are the original. Fuck you.
Greeks love being Greek, bro. What are you gonna do? I think it's funny.
And then
I think it's funny.
and then they worship small peckers. It's like cope.
Greeks,
You're coping.
yeah.
You're coping.
Can you pull up a statue? Can you pull up like
Yeah, I'll
Greek
pull up
love
the statue.
Anyway, I wanted to say one other thing. While you're doing that, this thing here is funny because this is again that religious woman who puts on that garment of repentance, and maybe it's legitimate, right? But then it's always looking for some dude to go, oh yeah, like even though you've been spun around the block 52 times, let's get together. It's not a real repentance if then you go and you just talk shit and just try to dunk on everybody all the time. I think if you have lived that kind of life, like be quiet, don't go speaking on everything all the time, especially as a woman. And yeah, of course you're gonna try to find a decent dude, but don't be mad if you can't when you have 3 children from another baby daddy,
Okay.
because some men
I'm gonna
have
delete
more
that now.
self-respect than that. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Greeks talk about it's such a cope, dude. The reason that they have tiny little peckers on their statues is they go, it's a sign of high intellect.
Cope.
Dude, my dick is so small because I'm like way too smart.
All went to my brain.
I'm too smart to have a bro. You're an idiot, bro. You must have a big ass dick.
You must
bro.
be an animal with that big
You must be
honker
an
of
animal.
yours.
Yeah, you must be hung like a horse with that stupid, inferior intellect. You.
It's ridiculous.
Listen,
It's ridiculous.
Einstein with the monster.
With the mushroom
over here.
cap.
No, with the mushroom cap over here. Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny. Looks like a acorn in a bird's nest. Next.
For the last
Oh,
time, Mr. Wonka,
yeah.
I did not try any experimental gum. And frankly, I find this entire line of questioning insulting.
Bro, the JD Vance memification has become my new favorite political obsession. It has nothing to do with the topic of the show, but my goodness, this shit is funny.
Does he know
Why
he's a
is it so
clown?
funny? I think so. You
I
know
hope
why?
he does.
You know what the spiritual meaning of this is? The reason they keep morphing JD Vance into 52 different caricatures is because JD Vance keeps morphing into 52 different caricatures.
He's a chameleon.
He's Catholic, conservative, he's a neocon, he's kind of a corporatist, he's kind of a globalist, but he pretends to be nationalist. He's also super conservative and based and cares about his traditions and country and religion, even though his Hindu wife convinced him to dress up in God knows what for their wedding, and his son is named Vivek. You are 52 different people, fucking JD Vance. You're 52 different people. Give me a
Completely.
break.
It's so obvious. What
That's
the
fine.
fuck? Did
That's
your
what the
mic
music sound like.
did your mic cut
That's
out?
what it
What
sound.
happened?
You didn't hear what I said?
No, not at all. I can't hear that.
I said
No, 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 no. Just a quick side point. The other reason why you don't want women with a bunch of like babies that aren't from you is there is actually science on this that the male DNA stays in their brain and it's a predictor of Alzheimer's.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So the other thing is, yeah, if you don't want a girl whose head is full of cum, then don't get a girl who's been busted in a bunch.
And just for everyone who doesn't know Greek, um, a, a chimera, right,
Yeah.
is a multi-animal in one being.
Yeah.
Okay, so when they say microchimerism, that means male remnant of DNA, multiple sexual male partners, remnants of their DNA, their cum, is left in the woman after having a child or pregnancy with that, right?
Yeah.
And that DNA is now circulating in her forever.
The reason that you feel disgust at that as a man is because it's disgusting, right? Don't let people gaslight you out of your honest moral experience, okay? The reason you feel repulsion at that is because it's repulsive. And again, I'm not saying that there's not a range of acceptability of like previous partners. Ideally, none. But
Mm.
you know, it's like the world is the world. And I'm not saying if this is the case with your wife, if your wife has been through some shit, like you're already married.
Yeah,
Suck it up.
don't forsake your wife. You've made
No.
your bed, now lay in it.
And if you do decide, hey, I'm going to stick with this girl, okay, even if she has a bad past, you're a man. You don't get to punish her for that down the road,
course.
okay?
Mhm.
That's the other thing I don't like is the problem with this is like, look, when you make the decision, you now make
Own
the
it.
decision, okay? If you want to go try to court this girl, figure out if it's the right thing, like don't be a halfway in, halfway out kind of guy. And especially if you get married, don't do that either, okay? You need to be fully committed. It does not matter anymore, right? You have a moral obligation. And you're not going to be happy about this shit in the past. You never will, probably.
Yeah.
Okay, if you can get over that and you can like forgive her at that point if it's your wife, forgive her ultimately and totally and completely and will her good in the context of your marriage.
Because you shouldn't
Which
abandon
is
your wife for this. That's ridiculous, guys. You're a
no,
loser if you do that.
and I'm saying like you can forgive her for that in that context because that's your moral obligation to your wife. Okay? Duh. But
And
when
just-
it comes to it, it is gross and it is a spiritual sign of entanglement when you have somebody else's like essence still in you. That's what happens. That's what happens. And that's like the funny thing is the spiritual and the physical play out and interlay. It's like of course the men that women are with leave an imprint, leave a message on them, right? That's
Mhm.
what happens. And so you're dealing with that, right? You're dealing with and at a certain point there's a breaking point where you can't mold anymore. Women are moldable. They morph into whatever a guy ends up making them be a lot of the time. And over time, it's like
or molded by God, like we all are. I'm not gonna say
I know, but I'm saying it's like that's how it goes, and like whether or not we admit it, women talk about that too. Women talk about how they end up being like kind of they end up being forming their whole personality
Mhm.
around a man, right? And it's like that's what happens is women take the shape that a man kind of has for them, that man's structure. It's like you can only do that, I think, so many
Commonly.
times. A woman. Now, God can make new anything,
Mhm.
but he can't change the past. Okay, he can bring new life into somebody. So don't always write people off. But at the same time, this is gross. If you don't like it, that's fine. Like that's fine.
Mhm.
Don't deal with it.
Yeah, and
Um,
by the way, this isn't pseudoscience, and the authors even put it male microchimerism is frequent and widely distributed in the human female brain. It literally
Wow.
puts DNA into the most important organ in your body. What you
This is
think
gonna
with.
this is gonna hurt so many dudes to think
I
about.
know.
It's like, guys, if it does, like, listen, life is not perfect. Okay, make it one of many factors that you consider. But if you're on the edge and you're like, I don't really like the past here, and you if you're not going to be able to respect yourself and feel the honor that you should as a man, and you're not married yet, like you have no moral obligation to stay if there's been too much bullshit and tomfoolery in the past. And as you
Mhm.
learn more with a woman, you fill in the gaps. A lot of the times you go, ooh, not a huge fan. Okay. Don't linger around forever. Don't waste her time. Don't waste your time. Get as much information as you need and make the decision on it. And try to keep your chastity while you're there. That's the other thing. Okay, don't contribute to the problem. Don't.
Yeah, exactly. And if you've already made your bed, lay in it. Don't be a loser. Like, oh God, no, you've done it. It's over.
And let me say something. Let me say something too. That is not like if like obviously, I mean if you're despairing over it, you're an idiot to begin with. But like, if it is the case that that's been your wife's past, that does not determine your future with her. Don't think that at all.
Yeah.
Okay, don't think that it
You're not
ruins the
doomed.
validity of your marriage. It doesn't ruin you as a man. You're not a bad dude. It's just like you can't talk shit to the level of if you didn't do that, you have to be a little bit accepting and a little bit more kind, because that's who you are, and that's fine, and that's a good thing. But you're not the kind of person who's going to hold that tight moral frame over other people. It's just not your place to do so, and just accept that that's what it is.
Yeah, I didn't want to.
And love your wife.
I didn't want to say this part too. They actually have had studies that past male partners that have had babies with the woman,
Yeah.
sometimes their genetic traits become remnant. Like, so the next kid they have, even if it's with a different, I know you're getting so uncomfortable. Like, oh God, yeah, I'm not going to bring this study up. We're not going to get too deep into it. They can actually pass a trait or two, and that can affect hair color. It can affect things, guys. They don't know the level and degree it goes into, but they do know that's a phenomenon. Be discerning.
Yeah, you know, and
That's
it's
gonna
like
kill people.
So many do, yeah, and every guy knows that this is the fundamental reality here.
We've all
Like
felt it.
you feel it. You feel it's such a deep male thing. And like, look, if you got off the train before you were supposed to, if you said, "Hey, you know, this is the best I'm going to do. I accept this," and then you've rationalized your way through that, and now this is bringing it all out again. Like, don't worry. Like, don't be a goofy, despair-ridden idiot. That's just ego. You have a moral obligation now. Uphold your moral obligation. But
Yeah,
like,
you made a vow.
couldn't be me.
Couldn't be me. Couldn't be
I'm
me.
just kidding, guys. I'm just kidding. Don't despair.
So
Don't
Vivek's an
despair.
anchor baby.
Yeah. Damn, that's gross. That's just
I
gross.
believe in
How
being
dare you?
consistent about my policies where
So your father is not a citizen of the United
Hold on, I love this journal. This is actual good journalism. So
Yeah,
your father's
yeah.
not a citizen, and then watch him try to snake it.
States?
he's not.
He's not. Okay, he accepts that because he's still not a citizen, by the way.
And your mother, when did your mom take the citizenship
There it is.
test? Was it before or after you were born?
Wait, watch what he says. Watch how quickly he adds words to this answer.
After I was born.
Right?
After you
Watch.
were born. Okay.
After years of being in this,
He realized, he's like, fuck.
Yeah,
He's like,
yeah,
my
yeah.
Ohio governor race. Fuck.
Yeah. It's so
following
funny,
the
dude.
legal process of becoming a naturalized citizen. She followed it through the legal process. And I
So
think
you
I think
gained you gained citizenship through birthright then.
well,
is that...
but
I love this journalist. Good for you. Women can be great detectives and journalists, especially. They're really good at being like, so where were you last night? I told you I was out with my friends.
I know.
Oh, actually, well, your location said here, and that's where Shaniqua lives.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I called your phone and I just heard.
Yeah, and
So,
Shaniqua said
let
she
me-
was going out with a guy, too, at the same place you were at.
I'm not now. Look, here's not what I'm not going to say. I'm more of an American than Vivek. Okay, I'm not going to say that. I think there's a component of being from a place that has to do with like the people that already live there. Sure, but whatever. And I'm not even going to say you can't run. But the problem, especially, is if you're in a culture that is kind enough to incorporate you into it, do not be the guy advocating for more immigration. Shut your mouth about H-1B. America's just an idea. Americans are too lazy. Therefore,
not
we
a
need
place.
infinity. We need infinity people from my country. Bro, fuck yourself. No.
Wait. America's not a place. Well, if it's not a place, how did you get citizenship?
Yeah, where did you go to?
How did you get citizenship?
It's a set of ideals. Okay. Yeah, have the ideals over there then.
The 14th Amendment, you mean? Is that the
Ab-
idea?
No, dude, it's a set of ideals. So if you want to be an American, Vivek, you can. You just have to have the ideas over there because America is
In
a
India.
set of ideas. You could be an American in India so long as you accept the founding documents of our country.
The Federalist
As long as you
Papers.
accept the Federalist Papers, you care about that 14th Amendment, you
Bill
can
of
be an
Rights.
American by birth, okay? As long as you accept the country's national ideal, okay? Over in India. You can do it over in India. That's what you can do, Vivek.
We're rooting for
Great.
you.
Great. I find it absolutely reprehensible when people come here and then they think that what it means to be an American, even though we're kind enough to incorporate people of different races and cultures and places, fine, great. That means that their people now have a place here as their people. You do not. And we have every right as a country to say who's coming in and who's going out, if anybody at all, okay? And we need to stop letting so many other people in at once, all right? Or
Yeah.
else we're going to have one big sneeze and just kick everybody out because it's gotten too much, too many cultures, too many interest groups.
And they don't
politically.
even love America, a lot of them. A lot of
No,
people don't love
no.
America.
No, they treat us like a whore that they're not even
A strip
grateful.
mine.
Yeah. Yeah, bro,
Mhm.
we are the whore of Babylon and the beast in Revelations. I'm serious. It's like this giant totalitarian thing forming with technology and the state and corporations that are intertwined at a very high level, this beastly structure. And then Jonathan Peugeot explains this. I'm not taking credit for this insight, but and then the whore is the way that you are inculcated into that, the way that you are pulled into that is by a society which pulls on your lower, baser desires,
Yeah.
right? And so now you have this totalizing pair of these two things. And anyway, the problem with this dude is if you're just getting here, shut the fuck up about getting more people here. That's not your place to talk about. You have to be a good guest in a culture that you just got to. I do not get to go to India, have my mom birth me there, not even be a citizen, and then run for governor talking about how I'm just as Indian as everybody else, and because your culture is lazy, you need to let my American buddies come over.
Yeah,
Get the fuck out of here.
It's just so
dude.
disrespectful.
Get the fuck out of here.
It's like, be a good guest. Like,
And I don't even care. I don't even care. He might be right. He might be right. It might be correct that we are a lazy, degenerate culture. I don't give a shit. I don't want infinity Indians. No. No.
or of any immigrant. It's any immigrant. It's not even targeted to India. We don't have to take unlimited immigrants.
No. No. And we can choose which ones we do take.
Yeah.
If you want Christian Swedes and you don't want Indians because they're Hindu, as a country,
Yeah.
we're allowed to do
By the
that.
way, don't do that. Hey, watch the mic. You're going to fuck up the recording. So, listen. Like, the other thing I find wild is Vivek is someone... He like, what? Vivek said to us, they said, Vivek, will you pledge your presidency? If you become president, God willing, will you put your hand on the Bible? And Vivek says, no, I'm Hindu. I'll put it on the Bhagavad Gita.
Get the fuck out.
You're never... That was already
Get out.
bad enough. Then you're also an anchor baby. You're never becoming president. Literally, the current president signed an executive order to get rid of birthright citizenship. If it actually worked, you wouldn't be one.
It should, because I think the point of the 14th Amendment is, like, if you were living here...
It was to give
and
black
you're born
people
here,
citizenship.
And they were already in the country
Yeah.
beforehand. The problem is that if there's an obvious loophole that undermines the initial purpose of the law, that's not covered under the law because semantics.
It's going against the spirit of it completely.
Yeah. Yeah, the intentionality of the law is for some particular moral goal, right? And the idea that just the verbatim words are exactly what it means, it's like, you know, I don't think that that's the truth. The spirit of it, yeah, was to give black people that birthright citizenship for people who are already in the country of differing legal levels.
Yeah.
It does
was
not
an
mean you can
equalizer.
pop across the fucking border, crap a baby out, and now you all get to live here. That's such a easily, stupidly abusive system.
I know.
And again, it's like, you know what needs to happen in this country? Shut down the immigration, kick out everybody who came in illegally, and then put in policies that allow Americans that encourage, get rid of degeneracy, legally crack down on degeneracy, crack down on abortion, divorce, promiscuity as a cultural thing. We need a revival of the church. We need the people here to actually make babies. If we do not have a revival of religion in this culture, we are going to go into a complete totalitarian catastrophe collapse. And that is what happens every single time the main tenets of a society fall apart. They start clinging to the state for order, and the whole stupid bureaucracy fizzles out. There's no stability. It's fucked. It's fucked. And we need to get rid of all of the things we're trying to pull in, all the openness, all the open borders, the idea that we need to be accepting of every different group of people. We're a flood. We're a fucking insane, panicked, flooding country. And you know who's caused it? To get back to the right first part of the video,
Men.
women.
No, men.
I know.
Goofball.
Well, no, the problem is women do embody that chaotic spirit, that openness to chaos. That's why Eve eats the apple.
Yes.
And when it comes to these political decisions, women's mentality has been co-opted to instantiate the most ridiculous left-leaning policies. We've lost our strength. We've lost our identity. Our laws have just been brought down to the bottom quartile
It's
of the
so
population.
funny. I
because
actually
women
blame
wanna be
men for all
nice.
of this. Do you actually blame women for all this?
No, I'm saying it's a dual responsibility because they are morally accountable individuals. I'm saying they're used in that way, and they are still responsible in a sense. Like Eve is responsible for that, but Adam should have been like, "Hey, bitch, get away from there. What are you doing?"
He
Why would
also
you do
ate the
that?"
apple. He fell for the temptation of it. I do want to go further, though, on this. I actually think men are predominantly the issue. And the reason why is, like, when you see any of this degeneracy, right? Even OF, who's paying for it? Married men. Okay? If you're in a relationship and you don't get sex and your wife tries to cuck you and all this, guess what? If you knew, first off, be more discerning. Second off, if they were giving you these signs, but you allowed yourself to be whipped, that's on you.
Yeah, yeah.
I wouldn't
Dude.
stand for that.
No. The reason that women and men behaved in a certain way culturally before is because a woman could go from a different man to a different man and a different man. She would get the same story across the board. This is not acceptable. This is what we do. This is what we don't do. The reason women feel like they can get away with bullshit is because there's always a weak man
With
who's
money.
willing to provide for them. Yeah, and so that's what it is, right? And the biggest psyop is like the OF delusion with Sophie Rain. She's getting $5 million for showing not even her coochie on OF, right? Yeah, that's not real, guys. I don't know if anybody's figured that out, but that's not real. Okay, that's fake money laundering psyop, astroturf to oblivion. $50 million. Shut up. Give me a break.
I don't believe it for a second.
There are people making money on it, but that's the point. And then you see like these Rachel Wilsons, these women, they have 3 kids with another man. They have all these promiscuous
Ashley
past
Sinclair.
behaviors. Ashley Sinclair. She's out here
just
talking
want
about
a
I want
father and a
BBC.
husband.
Now she's got Elon's fucking IBF baby.
And in between, I just want a father and a husband and to live on a farm with
But
kids.
people don't understand that like the morality and the ideas of the men in a culture dictate the shape of reality. That's what people don't understand. And it's like if back in the day, if men rejected feminism, they rejected the sexual revolution, they rejected kind of the pull into this post-industrial broken family structure, and they actually held tight to what they knew and they held to their religion, right? They held to the truth that they actually even felt deep down in their gut and they didn't make all these concessions, we wouldn't be living in the world that we are today. We wouldn't. And that's a fact. And that's what people don't realize is like, as a man, you're the prime mover in society. And your morality is going to change the world literally around you.
And here's something interesting.
That's happened.
I'll go further. Even though the masculine dynamic is more of the leader and the prime mover, here's the funniest thing. Women, you can have, that doesn't mean you're a victim. You can have agency. Like, let's say guys just want to use you like a rag and then dispose of you. You still get to say no, right?
Yeah.
Like, no, I won't do that to myself. And guess what? You have just elevated because we're all agents. We can all take charge. It just influences cohorts, statistics, X, Y, and Z, make it less likely, but we're all agents.
Yeah. Do the right thing. You guys know what the right thing is.
But
everybody knows what the right thing is deep down.
But especially to our 100% male audience, right? And sorry to interrupt you there. Like, to our 100% male audience, guys, if a woman uses sex as a weapon, not the right girl. Like, these are some blatant, say some red flags. Don't let me rant. It's your goddamn show. I'm a guest.
Way too many tattoos with no apologetic attitude towards it.
Absolutely. Keep going.
Frequent girls trips, frequent unexplained travel habits.
Anytime going to Dubai, any girl going by herself to Dubai, already gone. She's for the streets.
Already gone. Yeah, I mean, weird, inexplainable gaps in her dating history, probably a bad plan. No relationship with her father, probably a bad thing.
Or a
Vapes,
bad relationship.
weed. Yeah, or bad. Vapes, smokes too much. I mean, whatever. There's plenty of red flags. The thing I wanted to say though is like, guys, even if she's not cut out for the marriagey thing, don't use this girl.
Thank you. Like,
stop.
Give her respect. Like, there is such the
and
thing.
I know it's hard.
I know.
Because like you go, oh, she already doesn't give a shit. Her life sucks. Like these women that have been through this shit, they're not happy people. They pretend to be happy. They're annoying a lot of the time politically. Like they've lost their innocence. Have compassion and like be a good man. Like just go no. Like you don't need to do that. You know you're using her. You know she wants something more 19 times out of 20. And the ones that don't are already really broken. But stop. Like don't do it. Okay? And then you can actually be righteous and sit in the truth when you make those decisions. And if you fall, fine. Pick yourself back up, get back on the path, get reconciled. But just because she's not in that category, don't use her where she's at. Let her make the journey to get back from there. And don't get in her way. Don't get in her way.
And you're only justifying her, by the way. Like, most women that get used like that, they think you can't trust men, they're pieces of shit, I hate all men, and they're scumbags. And guess what? If you're someone that professes to be a Catholic, and then you're gonna go and treat her like a rag, or as Mr. Dante did, with a cross around his neck, sends her back to Germany, has all this money, she's saying she has a financial issue, coercively controlling, that's not being a righteous man. You're a tyrant, and you're a coward, and you're a loser. When I found out my wife was pregnant in law school while I'm working during the day, I said, I'll make it work. You can stay at home. Not just, I didn't say she had to keep working. I said, I'll make it work. You can stay at home.
And you had a much more complicated, I know the second pregnancy, a lot of complications. I'm not going to go into it. It's your personal thing.
Yeah, Epstein's anomaly, horrible heart defect. Surgery already, another in a year.
You made it work. She's alive, thank God.
Inshallah, thank God.
You've done what you needed to do. Immense stress, incredible pressure. You made it work because you love your kids. You
still got awards from my law school while doing it and working on all of our projects.
Be a man.
Yup.
Guys, you can make it work. Like, you can do it. Just stop fucking around. Stop using people. Don't engage in spiritual usury. Live your life the way you're supposed to actually do it. And that's the point I wanted to wrap back into here is it's like, guys, like, the big story is true, okay? Women politically and in your own lives are going to take apples. That's what's happening. They're always eating apples. There's a fucking bite in the back of the apple on your phone, okay? It's the internet. It's all synchronicities, bro. The whole thing around. Every reality's made of intrinsic code, pattern that explains the thing. Fractal truth, okay? But your job is to be better than them. That's what you have to do.
No, literally. No,
you should.
And to go even further, your job is to be as moral as you possibly can be. And that's why Catholicism literally is one of the most pro-women religions you could ever be in. You're like, well, I hate what Paul said. We'll talk about Paul a different time. The point, though, is this. Men aren't sleeping around and having a bunch of women under their wing. They choose one, they stay loyal, they make a vow to you. They devote their life to building their kingdom with you.
Yeah.
What more could you want? They devoted themselves to you completely, just as you devote back.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's good. Let's hop to the next one. Yeah, and that's the other thing. Marriage is a hell of a lot better as a social structure. A Christian marriage as your basis for society is a hell of a lot better than a weird pagan polygamist feudal system. Whatever the fuck is happening now.
Bullshit.
Friends with benefits, dating apps. It's very bizarre. Nobody ends up happy. in the long run, it's not as fruitful.
Pearly
And then
things.
women suffer from it a lot of the time. So this woman bothers me because she doesn't just dislike politically women. I dislike women as a political category. I think that if you love women, you don't like women as a political category.
In the
Those are two
U.S.
different things.
2025 political category, just to
2025,
clarify
yeah.
what we mean.
Well, the way women's minds and the ideas surrounding women are used politically, and the way that women are manipulated
Fourth
in
wave
the
feminism.
public square. Pearl just hates women, right? She
All
just
of
hates
them.
women. And here's a
Especially
good
if they're
example
prettier.
of it. And it's so funny because it's the same kind of double standard hypocrisy that she'll criticize feminist women for engaging in. This woman is making fun of the Speaker of the House, beautiful young lady named, what the heck is her name again? Natalie Winters.
Yeah.
And she's wearing like a dress where it's like, okay, she's
Showy.
she's a voluptuous woman, showy, young, very attractive.
She knows it.
But the dress is like where a pair of like 70s shorts would end on a guy. Okay, it's not booty shorts. It's not really ridiculous.
She looks like she
And
works at
she's
a
got
diner.
sleeves. Yeah, she looks like a 1950s like really fun pop kind of diner. You know, something like from Pulp Fiction. I don't know, something like that. And but the sleeves they go down to like mid arm. You know, it's really like a pair of like semi short shorts, but not even really. And this thing, and then it's buttoned up. She's just a filled out woman, right? She just like she looks good. The next thing that Pearl decided to do
Just
was
to call her a
say
slut.
to call her a slut again because again these people, these resentful fucking psychopath people on the right, the left, they just get this ideology. They go women bad, women source of all bad, or men bad, source of all bad. Literally, it's Gnosticism. They think that reality is constructed to be against them by the opposite gender. It's literally Gnostic. And then everything is just a series of confirmation biases to the point that they don't even realize they're doing the same shit. It's a video of Pearl in an identical, or picture of Pearl in an
In
identical
a shittier dress. That
Bitch,
looks
you're
more
wearing the same
skimpy.
thing. It's shittier, skimpier. It shows cleavage.
And
It's
shoulder.
It's spaghetti
Showing some
strap.
shoulder.
It's like you're doing the thing, but worse. Criticizing her for being a whore and using her sexuality to get somewhere in the world. It's like, yeah, she's a beautiful woman. People like listening to her, and but she actually has skill. Like that's the other thing. She's a good speaker. She can say her points concisely. Why? You just hate women. This is actual women hatred.
I know,
Pearl
it's
is the end
literally-
game. Pearl is where it ends. So I think that really pulls everything together. I mean, look, I think if you really love women, you're going to naturally be against a lot of the BS coming from the left today when it comes to women, and then also the right. Okay? Because people are going to use identities and your own personal experience and resentments to try to influence the way you think and the way you move and shake in the world. And you just have to stay true to the cross. You have to stay centered. You have discernment. Don't listen to people trying to push you into one box or the other with these extremist ideologies. You know, women are image bearers of God. You should love everybody the same.
Yeah, we
That
love
doesn't
everyone
mean
on this
everything
show.
that doesn't mean everything we say about them in the modern world and all of the ideas floating around that involve women are good. Okay, and you can make that distinction. That's completely fine.
In
You
fact,
don't
that's
have to accept-
actually the love. That's actually
that's
loving
actually
them.
love. That's actually love. Yes. And a lot of the times, you know, confusing the two, not understanding that love can mean disagreement actually destroys the person
We're rebuking.
that you're rebuke too. It actually ruins people. And that's what's happening too. This fake compassion is ruining people. You don't have to accept a woman who was had a promiscuous past if you don't want to as a man. If you did and you're married, love her anyway. You should carry a weapon if you're a lady, especially in the city.
Please carry
That's
a
the
weapon
great
if you're a
political
lady.
equalizer. We need to get rid of this whore culture. I mean, literally, like the whore of Babylon culture. Young men need to stop gooning. We need to go back to more traditional marriage, and we need to, or more traditional relationships, and bring back together the sanctity of the relationship between men and women in a healthy way. And then don't send your girl to go get an abortion in Germany because you don't want to deal with the repercussions of coming in her. So that would be really the kind of the whole message of the show. Fuck Dante's. No, you can repent, but fuck Dante's.
Yeah, literally.
And I think that really wraps it
I mean,
up.
can I put one more interject before you tell everyone to like, sub, and subscribe, which you should do?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna, if they see this, which we're not really like that blown up yet, but this podcast will get going and this clip will get to him somehow because it's weird little network. I'm waiting for them to make a post saying how much I'm giving it away, okay, of how much I hate her or women and all this. I didn't end up making you kill your child. I'm not your father or your boyfriend. I am actually doing you more of a service than either of them have ever done for you. It's a failure of your father. It's a failure of your boyfriend. It's a failure of yourself. I didn't cause that on you. I'm just reacting to what you've said, and it's all alleged.
MechanicalPlayer has some personal interrelationships here. He's got some personal vendettas here. He's got to air out. Dude, you do whatever you got to do. That's right. You know, like, hey, listen, you know, we appreciate all you guys for hanging out. Thank you, Mechanical, for joining us again. I hope you enjoyed the stream. We're getting a little bit more momentum with these, and we're getting some advice, some feedback. Let me know what you guys think. We are here as your parasocial relationship hour on the daily, on the Dizay, every single 5 days a week at least. And like, share, subscribe. God bless. I hope you enjoyed the stream, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody. Peace.